cybersecurity is not going anywhere. It's going to keep getting more and more complex and more target rich. And AI is helping make it easier for the bad guys, but I'm sure it's going to help the good guys as well. It's just a cat and mouse game, unfortunately. And then I would say the other kind of big thing that I see is compliance. Like, unfortunately, companies probably, when it comes to cybersecurity, are not going to do the things that they need to do to protect
Yep.
data unless they're forced to. So
Yep.
again, we do a lot of CMMC, and you got these manufacturers and stuff in the DoD supply chain who they were already supposed to be doing all the stuff that they're now being told that you have to be certified on. So they were supposed to be doing it, and they were self-attesting that they were doing it.
Hey guys, and welcome to the Grow IT podcast. One of your hosts here, Trey King. And today we are very excited to have our guest, Mr. Jason from the Right Hand Technology Group. And today we'll be diving into his story a bit, as well as what it is his company does, and then some engaging insights, as always, into the technology industry. So, make sure you stick around for this one. But without further ado, Jason, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Jason, I think if we can maybe kick things off, if you could introduce yourself and just tell the listeners a quick snippet of your background, if you don't mind.
Sure. So I'm Jason Vanzin, founder of a company called Right Hand Technology Group. We're obviously a managed IT, uh, managed cybersecurity. We do a lot of cybersecurity. That's kind of I guess, our specialty. Um, but my background is, I mean, I started in IT during the dot-com bubble. I was 19.
Yeah,
I got my first job managing a couple UPS centers. The technology, they're they got these centers all over the place around here.
yeah,
Um, and then went to computers, like, kind of in a short period of time, couple of years. Back then you had to jump. I mean, you probably still do, but you had to jump jobs to kind of get the growth going. So,
of course.
uh, yeah, I was there for about UPS for about a year and a half. Then I went to Computer Associates and moved to North Carolina.
Yeah,
They started up a web hosting division, and they're a software company, so I'm not sure why they did that. But ultimately, um, they they weren't. It wasn't working, apparently, because they kind of whacked the whole department after about maybe 9-10 months.
yeah.
Um, but luckily for me, in the meantime, because it was boring. I mean, it was like I like to be busy and work, so it was like boring. It's like nothing to do. And again, this was the dot-com bubble, so it was like the Office Space era. I don't know if you ever saw that movie, but that's literally what it was like.
Yeah.
Um, so I went to Nortel Networks, and moved up to Raleigh, and I was 22. I just had my son. He was 6 months old. I come home. I went to work, and then they laid off, like, this is dot-com bubble, so like it crashed. And there was like 10,000 people getting laid off at a time.
Oh my word, that's
And
crazy.
I come home at like 9:30, 10 o'clock, and my wife's like, "What are you doing here?" And again, we bought our first house. Son 6 months old. We're not where our family is.
Phew.
We're and
Pressure.
Yeah, it was like, I just got laid off. Luckily I did get a little severance back, so I wasn't you know wasn't down at the shelter the next day, getting soup or anything. So,
Yeah.
um, but just packed up, came back to Pittsburgh, pounding hammers for my dad until I found a job with I guess, pre-managed services and IT, services company that wasn't really doing managed services at the time. And I just loved it. Loved working with, like, small, medium-sized businesses. Loved, like, consulting and managing IT. I love technology. Like, I can't not tinker, with technology.
Yeah.
So, like, really got into that, and then just kind of, like, grew frustrated with the way that company did things, and it was just like, I'm gonna have to go on my own. So, started my own company in 2007. But I'm
Yeah.
an IT guy. I'm not like Mr. Charismatic sales guy. So I ended up merging with another company, uh, and like 6 or 7 years later, most of our clients were from me, like, just referrals and stuff. And so I was like, okay, well, I keep complaining, or I can go off on my own again. And that's when I started Right Hand, 2014, Right Hand Technology Group.
Yeah.
2014, started Right Hand Technology Group. So, it's been about a decade, not a little over a decade. And, we manage IT and cybersecurity, a lot of compliance work for mostly manufacturing. We're doing a lot of CMMC, which is the DoD supply chain. And we got like a really mature cybersecurity process where we put a vCISO in place. We create a steering committee with the client. We meet with, depending on the size of the client, a lot of clients, we meet with them weekly, like kind of
Yeah.
like we're like part of their company. So we meet with them weekly to drive things forward on their roadmap that we put together. We have quarterly steering committee meetings with executive teams, keep them in the loop, also keep people's feet to the fire, because it's not just an IT game, cybersecurity. So like making sure people are doing what they're supposed to do. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's been really successful for us. Um, I can go on rambling forever. So I'll just stop there.
No,
It's
that's quite a good background you got there. I was thinking about now, like you said, being in your, on the lower end of 20s, having a kid, being laid off. That is, I think a lot of founders that if they had to look back, it's always, some sort of story like that where they made the
yeah,
decision, this is enough. This is enough,
yeah,
need to make a plan,
yeah.
and on your
It's
own.
the old, connecting dots backwards because like once I got kind of older and just kind of like I was really always like this. Like when I was 11 years old, me and a buddy would run around the neighborhood pounding on doors to like cut grass just to buy comic books and
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
I was a caddy when I was 13 and then just always kind of like okay, how can I make some money on my own? Um
yeah.
so
No, that's awesome. So that mindset was there right from the beginning, right? So to make things happen. Having said that, Jason, based on your expertise, what are currently what are the current market trends? That you would say that that you're aware of. What way is the wind blowing these days?
well, I mean it's probably not shocking, but obviously AI is kind of
It's
changing everything.
it's the buzzword, as I usually say, right? It's
Yeah,
it's
yeah. I always like to say, I was at a conference and the caterers were talking about how to use AI. It's like everybody's
you,
used it.
then you know, man. Then
Yeah.
you know. Uh,
So we do a lot of cybersecurity. We also do manage IT services, so helping companies be more productive. So like I'm a tinkerer, so I've been really into the AI stuff pretty much for, past 12 months, just building out my own automations and stuff to streamline some of my own stuff.
yeah,
But, it's creating challenges in cybersecurity. So it is, cybersecurity is not going anywhere. It's going to keep getting more and more complex and more target rich. And AI is helping make it easier for the bad guys, but I'm sure it's going to help the good guys as well. It's
yeah,
just a cat and mouse game, unfortunately. um, and then I would say the other kind of big thing that I see is compliance. Like, unfortunately, companies probably, when it comes to cybersecurity, are not going to do the things that they need to do to
yeah,
protect data unless they're forced to.
yeah,
So again, we do a lot of CMMC, and you got these manufacturers and stuff in the DoD supply chain they were already supposed to be doing all the stuff that they're now being told like that you have to be certified on. So they were supposed to be doing it, and they were self-attesting that they were doing it, but
yeah.
most of them weren't doing it. So now they're CMMC saying, no, you got to get a third party validating that you're doing it and
Yeah, to check.
certifying you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's going to get bigger and bigger, and then cyber insurance is driving that as well. Um, so those are the big trends I see, like in my world, related to what businesses are going to have to deal with.
Tell me, and then from a market sentiment point of view, right? What would like your take be on that at the moment? How do you see it? What have you been experiencing?
Market sentiment as far as just the market in
Yeah,
general or
yeah.
cybersecurity or
Well, just let's talk general.
well, I mean, I think at least it seemed to us that people were kind of holding back. Obviously we had an election here, so I think
It's been
it
an
seemed like
interesting
people
year,
were
right?
holding back to see how that was going to play out. It does seem to be loosening up now. Of course, now you have the holidays to deal with, but
Yeah,
um, I think there's still some concern. I know I have some concerns about just we haven't had a major uh, crash or anything in quite a long time. Usually they're every 7, 8 years, and it seems like it's been what, 2008. So we're like way past due. So I
Yeah.
think but you really can't control that. So you got to keep focusing on your growing your business. So I mean, I guess I'm hoping it's going to open up, and I think people now that the elections behind us are going to start getting back to focusing on their business. You got 4 years before you have to worry about it again. Um,
Yeah.
and then
Vicious
hopefully,
cycle, right?
yeah. And then obviously it's not helpful when you got all these conflicts going on around the world. So hopefully
Mm,
that also will settle down. So people just not worry, not have these things like, well, do I invest this because if this happens, especially manufacturing, right? Um,
yeah.
so I don't know if that answers your question or not, but
No, it does. No, definitely it does. I haven't spoken obviously to the founders of our clients and as well. People are like optimistically, there's a lot of optimism for next year, but there's caution as well. So, and like you rightly said, now after this election, there's a lot of green lighting of projects, moving forward. And but now there's a bit of a halt again because we're moving towards December, right? And we're moving into the space now in the festive season. So it's like it just started and we had, you know 6,000 revs, and we're going back down a bit, and hopefully
yeah,
from Jan forward. We are currently predicting that 2025 will be a significant difference as opposed to this year. But the I think this is maybe, Jason, a good time that, for the listeners, if you don't mind, just to maybe elaborate a bit more what your company does. Like you mentioned, cybersecurity, and if you don't mind, just to include, what would you say from your point of view? What would be the biggest value? What your company brings to the table?
yeah. So we started off managed IT services, right? So we
Yeah,
handle all your IT for you as an outsourced provider. I mean, it was pretty good timing, but like end of 2019, right before COVID, we made a big shift towards cybersecurity and building out cybersecurity programs. I'm a CISSP, so like I have, the credentials and experience on the cyber side, and we kind of built out this, um, kind of we call it our vCISO process, but kind of our process of how we run cybersecurity governance for clients.
yeah,
Um, so we kind of shifted toward that, but we did kind of shift back towards, okay, let's be the company that is cybersecurity first, manage IT services. So instead of we did a lot of like in that period of time, we did a lot of like cybersecurity programs only for companies that have IT departments.
yeah,
Um, so, but really, what our focus is companies where they are concerned about cybersecurity because unfortunately there's still a lot that aren't. But our clients, we want ones that realize cybersecurity is needs to be taken seriously. So they either have regulations or maybe something happened in the past. They've had a breach, and they
yeah,
know that unfortunately most MSPs don't have the chops on cybersecurity. Like they put in firewalls, they put in endpoint protection, they put things in place. But I always call that like ad hoc security without the governance, utilizing frameworks and having somebody like doing a gap analysis with the framework and then building out
yeah,
roadmaps and driving things forward. And then again, just like a large company, if you're a large enterprise, you have cybersecurity, CISO, and they're doing these things, obviously through a team. Uh, for us, we simplify that all down. I always like to say we have the kind of management down approach. So for
yeah.
cybersecurity, we have a vCISO, and then we have obviously the team that executes the vCISO's roadmap and game plan. On the IT side, we have the virtual CIO also doing a gap analysis versus,
Like different depths.
yeah. So that's kind of and it's, like for example, we brought in a manufacturer. I think it was the beginning of last, I think it was the beginning of last year. They were with
Yeah,
another MSP for like 12 years. So that's a pretty big relationship to walk away
yeah.
from.
I agree.
And the response time wasn't there, which we hear all the time. So like on a sports side, and I always say like supports is it's like table stakes. Like you got to do good support or else you're out the door. So we don't even
Yeah,
really focus on that in our message. But like this was one of the client's problems, and they were worried about cybersecurity. So we came in and put a vCISO and a VCIO in place. did a gap analysis, built out a roadmap, created the steering committee to make sure that we're talking to the client, explaining where they're at on their, kind of on the journey from no cybersecurity program to,
Comms.
you're
Yeah.
fully aligned with the NIST, which is what we're using for them.
Yeah.
And we kind of just walk them through it, just like you would expect a CIO or a VC or a CISO to do for your company if you were an enterprise. And we kind of just facilitate all that, and then we have the solutions and the technologies to plug in. So
Mm.
again, another thing I always say is this people, process, and technology. So many
Yep.
people, even these larger companies with cybersecurity departments, they think a tool is what is the solution. It's like the tool is just a tool, right? You don't go buy a
Yep.
hammer and it builds your house for you. Like you got to have the people and the processes
Yeah.
to
Good
build,
analogy.
yeah, to build the house. So it's the same thing with all these security products, right? So that's where we come in. We have people, processes, and the technology. Client
Mm.
doesn't care about the technology. All they care is about the results. So that's kind of like what I think our strength is. So I'll
Yeah,
stop
and I
there. I
think
can't.
well, just to latch onto that, I think as well as you mentioned, to me that's a strong value point. Like you said, you often meet in the beginning. You mentioned you often meet with your clientele. Maybe like weekly or bi-weekly or whatever the case may be. But I mean, that's that communication. That's something that's I think is very much profound from a value standpoint. Uh, Jason, in your opinion, if we can just look at business as a whole for now, in your opinion, what type of mindset would you say is needed to be a successful founder of a company? I mean, you've been at it for quite some time now. What do you think?
Yeah.
What does it take?
Well, I know it's something I always say is I'm stubborn, but it's kind of like what's it take to have a good marriage? Like you
I've
just
never
got,
had that before, man.
yeah. But I mean, like you got to be committed, right? So if you want your marriage to work, you just got to in the beginning commit that like no matter what, we're gonna stay married. And then obviously you want to run your marriage well. Same with your business, right? I'm committed to make this business successful. You got to learn, you got to adapt, but you're committed in the beginning that, this isn't like something I'm just going to try and if it works, great. If not, like you got to be stubborn, right? You got to just like,
Yeah.
I'm starting this company and I'm going to make it work. I'm not going to let my ego get involved. I would say that's another kind of a big thing. Like, don't have an ego. You're probably wrong a lot. So just like, well, realize where you're wrong and learn and grow and talk to other people that are also doing the same thing and have already went through what you went through and don't don't let your ego get involved.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'd say that's you gotta enjoy it too. Like if you start a business just to make money, um, that's obviously a byproduct of a good business. But if you love what you do, like I said, I love technology. So like even there's been parts of my career where I'm like, I want to get out of this. I hate, this computer stuff
had
is
enough.
annoying. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then like, what am I doing on nights and weekends? I'm playing with some technology. It's like the cool new thing
You're
that
in any
came
case going to
Yeah.
build something
So
out of the garage, so
yeah. Yeah. So but I don't know if I think that's kind of the mindset ultimately just leads to success, if you just this is what I'm gonna do and if you're gonna lose weight, uh no matter what, I'm gonna get down to this weight and I'm willing to everything else
Mm.
um is going to be secondary to whatever that goal is. So
Tell me, Jason, where can the listeners, where can we get hold of you guys?
yeah, so our website's righthandtechnologygroup.com. All spelled out, no dashes or anything. I'm on LinkedIn, so just Jason Van, LinkedIn/Jason Vanzin. That's probably where I post the most. I post stuff. I try to post educational stuff so people can learn and stay up on what's going on. Like something just happened I saw this morning with Stolies, the vodka maker. They went bankrupt because of a
Yeah.
ransomware attack.
Oh my
Yeah.
word.
So it's like,
That's
sharing
gonna
stuff like
that's
that
gonna
to,
sober up a couple of guys.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. So
man.
it's this stuff really, and that's a big company you hear about in the news, but obviously there's probably like a ton of little small companies that went out of business from ransomware and nobody knows about it, right? Because
Yeah,
they're not
yeah.
big enough to make the news. So, but that's, we're on Twitter, Right Hand Tech is our
Yeah,
handle, but LinkedIn's probably where we post the most.
most. Lovely. Jason, I need to thank you for hopping on, man. You provide us with some good knowledge here and good experience today. And it was good to find out what it is that your company does. I can fully understand why you guys are so successful. Those are very good value points that you mentioned. And if there's one thing I'm taking away from today for myself is definitely that relationships, and that open communication that you have with your clientele. I think that's a critical part it's not usually part of a conversation when one talks about cybersecurity. And that's why it was
Yeah.
so profound for me. So no, thank you for that. Thanks for hopping on, and good luck to you in the business.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
All the best. Take care.
Thanks.